Hello, I'm Diane Zatto. I've been a member of Saints John and Paul Catholic Church along with my husband for, well, ever since it started. And we've been married 51 years and always lived in the Altoona area. This is my mother, Doris Tomatich,
Yeah.
and she just moved here last August. She's a resident at Prairie Vista in the assisted living. And she would like to share with you a little bit about her life and some of the losses she's had and how she's gone through to find new life in the next chapters of her life. So, Mom, why don't you start by telling the fact that you were in West Des Moines most of your...
So we had to move to West Des Moines, and we lived there and from 1956, I think it was, until my husband wasn't able to manage the yard anymore, so we moved to a townhouse. And then he passed away after we were married. I don't know how many years, but
Almost 65.
well,
Almost 60, I'm sorry. Almost.
we were married almost 60, but then I am now 91, so anyway,
He died in 2008.
yeah, and
So about 7 years after he passed away, you moved to a
To-
retirement home.
yes, the Lodge of Ashworth, and then 5 years later, I was needing a little more help, and it was getting too much for Diane to be driving me to the doctor all the time. So she asked me to come to Altoona, so here I am in Altoona at the
Prairie Vista.
Prairie Vista retirement home, and I'm in assisted living. So
So Mom has had a lot of loss over the years and a lot of joy with having 6 children and definitely a lot of new life from all of that.
yes,
And now, the worst thing about when she was at the Lodge of Ashworth was COVID hit. And luckily, because she lived on a first floor apartment with a little balcony, we could go and visit her by sitting. We brought our lawn chairs and we would sit outside of her balcony in those lawn chairs, and she would come out and sit on her balcony and we could visit. Otherwise, we were not allowed in there. And
Yep.
that went on for quite a few months.
yes, it went on for way too long, and we got so that they wouldn't let us go out of our room. Well, at first they brought our food to us 3 times a day, and then eventually we could eat at the table 1 meal a day, and that was the way it was still there when I left. However, then they went back to where they had to have it brought to their room.
And when she got here to Prairie Vista, they were allowing one person at each table in the dining room, and they had breakfast in the bed in their own room,
We still have breakfast in our own room, and we have continually.
and then lunch now they can, and dinner they can have in the dining room, and they're allowing 2 people at each table. But tell about how did you feel a lot of loneliness during the COVID time and couldn't...
Yes, very, very much. It was very, very hard because I had some other problems come along through there, and it's been very, very hard on the elderly and the people living in nursing homes, because to be in your room and not be able to visit with anybody it can get very, very lonely, and it has been very lonely, and we're still not allowed to really get out and mix with people. I have been fortunate. I'm a retired organist that I could, and they let me bring my organ when I came here, and so I have, at this point, I try to go down almost every night, and I have several people that enjoy hearing music because they're all very lonely too. And they enjoy having something besides quiet and being in their room alone, because we've been quarantined so much of the time, and it is very, very hard on these people. And it's I just don't understand, uh, that, but they've had some cases up there, and they've had some cases in the regular living. There's 3 places here that you can either be in, and they've had some that the people lived in apartments, and then they had the COVID. And in fact, my next door neighbor, she and her husband had it, and I haven't even talked to her because I am supposed to be having my 1 meal or my 2 meals a day at the table with her, because we are allowed suddenly to have 4 at a table. But she has been in the hospital because she ended up with the COVID. So
Mom, tell the listeners how it felt to get all of those letters from the parishioners.
It was wonderful. I'm sorry that I can't remember names well, but it was so nice to hear from some of them that I had went to Rome with. And Saints John and Paul has always been a very nice church. Of course, naturally, my daughter was there, and my sister-in-law was there. In fact, I played for her funeral over there. And
you went to my son's not baptisms, but first communions and all of that sort of thing
well, I was at their baptism too.
But it wasn't at St. John Paul.
No, it wasn't at St. John.
But anyway, what I was getting at is that you've had a connection with St. John and Paul for a long time.
Yes, and like I say, when my daughter couldn't go to Rome and I had paid the way, the people from St. John and Paul could not have been nicer to help me through that time of traveling to Italy, the only time I ever traveled there at all.
I thought I would show you, this is a pile of all the letters, cards, and then this God moment bucket that Mom got from everyone. And a lot of people, because we have a different last name, didn't realize that she was my mother. And so she had me go through these cards with her, and if it was somebody that I knew, I was able to tell her a little bit about them, and it ended up really being kind of fun because almost everybody who sent something, I knew of them or something about them, so Mom could have a connection.
Yes, and it brought to mind some of the trip to Rome, because I know one of the couples got to have dinner with my niece, and her boyfriend was a born Italian, and they enjoyed meeting him, and we enjoyed having them at the table for supper one night in Rome. And
actually in Florence, but
it was in Florence. Okay.
Anyway,
I don't remember things well. You can tell, but I do remember that, and I remember one of the fellows always helping me get from one room to the next when we changed rooms or something.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I have a good feeling towards your church because they've been very, very kind to me. And I want to thank them all for getting these lovely letters and these lovely notes.
And one of the first things Mom said to me after she got the first bunch, that was something nice too. They didn't all come at one time. They came over a series of 3 or 4 deliveries, and so it spread it out. And one of the things she wanted to be sure was that she had an opportunity to thank the people who had taken the time to send her something. And so this gave us, when Janet asked us to do this, it gave her an opportunity to do that. So thank you very much. And
I would have liked to have written a nice note, but if I wrote it, you wouldn't be able to read it. So,
Mom has had 3 strokes, and they have affected her cognitive abilities as well as her sight. And so it's a little rough to read or write. So it was nice, though, because I could read them to her, and it went really well. So thank you very much.
Yes.